Well, hello. I'm going to start from the beginning. So what we have here is a Xforce Blue Label made by our good friend over at Xforce, Mr. A. But it is a little in the used state. Let's kind of slide over here real quick and let's take a look for what's going on inside of this thing. It has no transistors in it. This is a 2, 4, 6, 2 driving 12. Sorry, not 2x8, 2 driving 12. And with the switchable driver section right here. So we can drop this set of transistors out of the equation and make it a straight 8. I hate building these boxes. I hate them. I hate them. I call them the space shuttle box. Because there's a lot of switches on the front, and guys always forget which way they got the switches, and all it takes is one time. They'll have their high-powered 300-watt radio or whatever, and they'll forget that they've got the driver in line, and they'll key it once, and poof, and the whole amp's dead. Where if you had this set aside as its own separate driver, the only problem that you'd have is, you blew your driver up, and you're running your several 100-watt radio into your 12-pill or your other driver or whatever. Moral of the story is, I don't like these, but this is what the guy wants, and he sent this up to me and we're going to rebuild it. He supplied me with pills. These are the RF parts 2879 17-3Q, which if I'm not mistaken are pretty close to the 16 D08s. If I'm not mistaken. It had a very pretty RF parts label on it and had the original staple in it holding things shut. But when he put it on the lid of the amp, he taped it down with packing tape this way. And you all know my love for packing tape because it's so nice to take off of everything. So it ripped the whole top portion of the bag off, and then it ripped the label off as I was pulling the packing tape off. But as we can clearly see, these are unmolested. And this is a match pair from RF Parts. So I'm going to call him now and discuss with him what he wants to do. If he wants to put RF Parts transistors in this thing or if he wants to put HGs in it. We are going to do some power wire upgrades and the fans. These are the ubiquitous colored Never Cools. These suckers barely move any air. They like, a warm fart out of my dog's ass, like move about that much air out of them. So I'm going to see if he wants to do some fan upgrade technology, what he wants to do here. But now I got my head wrapped thoroughly around what I'm working with. I told him, well, let me take a quick look at it and see where we're at, and I'll call you back with some digits. So, took a quick look at it. All I can say is this is Memphis audio wire, which means that this is copper coated aluminum. But this is fairly decent wire. This will more than adequately carry the current to the inside of this box, but at least it's heavy gauge. This is Memphis car audio wire, like I said, 4 gauge. So we got our minds worked around what we need to do. So basically we got to put some pills in it. First we've got to give it a bath so we can wash all the flux and the little bits of solder chips and everything that are down in here from when whoever took the pills out of it. And when we put the new pills in it, that'll allow us to get the pill strips tacked back down, and we'll get everything. Keep coming, keep coming. There we go. And this one, keep coming, keep coming. That's about. Okay. We'll get the pill strips all lined up, and Arlen built these for a little while in this way. He was spacing the transistors out, and he said it was for better cooling, and I did a couple of these myself and then discovered it doesn't really help that much, but at the end of the day, still the weakest link in the chain is the quality of the transistors and these caps. That cap, that cap, that cap, that one, that one, that one. All it takes is for one of those caps to get a little too hot, lose its value, and then that 2-pill section blows up. or it falls a little bit out of value, which puts too much pressure on the transistors in that particular 2-pill section, and it blows the pills up. And then, of course, we're giving up to the power gods about 10% of the power that this box could make off of these chokes. There's guys that argue the other direction, and I'm like, well, it's a measurable thing, as in like you can see a little bit more power come out of it as far as output power, but then you can measure the overall temperature with a thermal gun and see that the box is running cooler by about 10%. So you take from that what you want. I don't really care. That's the way I like to do things. At the minimum, we'll replace these, and then we're going to go ahead and, instead of having 22 or 16 gauge here, we'll replace this with a piece of 12. At the minimum, that's what we want to do here. So we call big old DOD dog, the guy that owns this thing, and let's get started. So we washed it, and I call Mr. Big D, Big Dog D, and say, hey man, this is where we're at, what do you want to do? And he says to me, he goes, well, the Toshibas that were in there with that amp. And I went, what Toshibas? And he goes, what? And I said, what Toshibas? Sam's got a long, convoluted story behind it. I mean, it's no joke. There's a long story that goes along with this thing. And somewhere along the line, he misplaced a couple of the transistors that were in here. He says he put them in a bag. I said, there's no way. He said he put them inside the box. I said, Bud, there's really no way. I kind of vaguely remember having a conversation with him about it, and he's also in the process of moving right now, my buddy Big D here. So all his stuff is packed up, and he has no idea where anything's at. And I'm literally telling him, I said, hey man, I brought this thing in the house myself, brought it out here to the shop myself, I dug through the box myself, and listen, bubble wrap is like money, okay? You don't just throw that out. So I take the time to take most of the bubble wrap, if it's big pieces like what was around this thing, and I flatten it all out, and I pull the tape off it real quick, and I give it to my wife, and she holds onto it for when we send stuff for flat rate boxes, you know, like little 2-pills and stuff. It's worth saving. It adds up when you're spending $60 for a roll of bubble wrap, you know. So I was like, nah bro, you didn't send the transistors. But like I said, I kind of remember us talking before he sent this amp up, and I think he's still got his pills down at his place, but he says he wants to use these RF part transistors, which I don't blame him. I mean, the cost is what it is. I mean, let's face it, the Toshibas are silly. They're just silly. Supply and demand thing, right? So here we are, and I go and I dump the bag out. And you remember in this previous segment where I'm like, oh yeah, it's a fully, no, it's legit. These are legit 16. The parts are legit. I go and I dump the bag out. Let's do a quick count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. I call Big D up again. I said, brother, we're having a hell of a day out here in Idaho. What do you mean? I said, man, I just dumped this bag out. There's only 15 transistors. And he goes, well, yeah. Like, what do you mean, well, yeah? Well, yeah, I was going to have somebody else do the thing and change it over to 1 driving, 2 driving, 12. And I was like, oh. Okay. You ever just had one of the months where it's like everything that goes on, somehow, no matter how hard you try, you're at the center of all screw-ups? That's kind of what I felt like has been going on with my month here lately. So I was just like, geez, I did not throw away 10 Toshibas. I never had them. What I did think was odd was in that box, floating around outside the packing material, was this. So I was asking Big D, I was like, brother, tell me, what happened here? Why did you feel we need a 150 amp Anderson clip? Because that will no fly with this situation. And he goes, I don't know. What do you mean there was an Anderson clip in there? So the reason I told you the first story is the reason I told you the second story. I have a feeling, I just have a feeling that my buddy D, once he gets to his new house and he gets himself all unpacked, he's going to find a bag with 10 transistors in it and be like, oh shit. And he's going to think back to this video and he's going to laugh. And I don't even need to hear back from you, D. It's okay. I understand. You're going to laugh and I'm going to laugh. And we're going to realize that this little bag right here is what you put in the box for whatever reason. Don't know. I don't know. He wants me to rebuild this into a 2x12. This is the most relaxing thing I do all day, right here. And this is the most mentally cathartic thing. Like, just zone out. Ooh-wee-ah, ooh. Putting in transistors. And you kind of got to pay attention a little bit, because if you zone out too far, you'll end up putting the pills in upside down. Just saying. And I guess that wouldn't be upside down, it'd be backwards. So this does require a little bit of mental fortitude, I guess. So we washed it. And then I came and I cleaned all the schmegma. Cleaned all the schmegma out of the pill pockets. And got them all squeaky clean. And so now I get to line up all the pill strips and we're going to put transistors back in it. You know, we all have that moment where you're working with something and it stands out in your mind. And you're just like, life-changing, altering moment. I can remember I purchased myself off a guy here locally a 16 pill. I bought a 1x4, or no, it was a 2x4 and a 16 pill Toshiba amplifier made by Xforce. And it was my very first 16 pill I'd ever owned. My God, was I excited about that. Oh, I had feelings in my loin area that were second to none. Second to none, I'm here to tell you. And I remember opening up that amp and looking at the inside of it going, wow. When I left the radio world when I was about 18, the biggest thing around here was like a Sweet 16, and that was, oh my God, John Holmes. Lay it out on the table big, you know, and I mean big. That was big boy stuff right there. And I came back to it. I got myself a 2x4 Dave made, Moby, of course. Knowing what I know now, I thought all Dave made was just Dave made. I didn't know. I didn't know there was all these weird nuances to this business. Anyhow, the next step was I wanted to build something in my truck. And I already had a truck that had a big stereo in it. Like, we're talking 12 batteries worth of stereo, right? Big boy stereo. Three alternators in it at that time, ended up going to 5 after I got the 64 pill in there. And wow, that gouged the crap out of that pill strip. It's okay, we can solder right around that. We have a solution. It's called a good soldering iron. But that moment that special moment. I'll lay this down too. I remember I was standing there in my old house, and I'm looking down inside that box, and I'm like, whew, looking at all of them Toshibas lined out. That was a lot of transistors in my mind. Now you can't even get me to lift an eyebrow unless it's like a 64 pill or something. Yeah. And even at that, it's like, whew, it's a lot of work to keep that running. About the 32 pill range is about, for me personally, I'd max out wanting to have a mobile. I wouldn't want to go much bigger than that. It's too much work keeping them running. And everything's got to be just friggin' perfect. But back on topic. When I was even a younger man, I went to a friend's house to spend the night. And I couldn't have been maybe 10, maybe 12 years old. And my friend says, "Are you allowed to watch PG-13 movies?" And, you know, wanting to be cool, and because I'm hanging out with the boys, right? You say shit that you shouldn't say, because my mom wouldn't let me watch anything more than a PG movie. It might have been 10. My mom was a wonderful woman, but man, did she fear God. I'm here to tell you. So no, PG only family kind of thing. And I said, "Well, yeah. No problem. Let's get this on. What are we going to watch?" I'm going to remember this kid's name after I finish this little segment. He's also my grade school spelling bee champion. Smart kid. Don't ever know what happened to him. I want to say his name was Dennis. Greg or something. Anyhow, we're in his basement. So they put on this, you know, they get out the VCR, which would have been twice the size of this amplifier, right? They get out the VCR, and he gets out this movie, Weird Science. Puts it in the VCR. I remember expressly to this day him pushing that tape in and thinking, and we watch it go, oh no, I had to slid it in the tray and then push down on the tray so the tray rocks back and latches in the top. And he hits play and the VCR spins up. You know, we all know the noise. All of us know the noise. Younger generation don't have a clue. Weird science. Da 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 da. Something feels good. Weird science. Anyhow. And so the two teenage boys decide they're going to get on their Commodore 64. Now, I thought this was funny at that time because I was like, my very first computer was a VIC-20 and I built it as a kit. And it used cassette tapes to load the memory on it. And the best that we could get out of that was Oregon Trail. Remember Oregon Trail? You didn't buy enough food. Your family starved and died of scurvy. Yeah. I was always into guns as a kid, and I just buy bullets. Spend $0 on food. All my money save my money for repairs on a wagon. Spend no money on clothes. Just buy bullets and guns, and somehow I'd always make it to the end. But because I'd hunt, I'd go out and the hunt portion of the game. Anywho, I digress. So the kids start talking about how they're gonna make their own woman. They could design their own woman. I was like, whoa, what? Hey, what are we? What is going on here? And so the lightning scene happens, and they unleash the powers of God, and supercomputers, and, you know, Cheyenne Mountain are kicking on and shit. And then the bathroom door starts to bulge. The door explodes, and out walks Tony Catan. Yes, old Tony Catan. Whew, man. And a little cut-off shirt, and a little tiny blue pair of panties. And at that moment, I realized my penis was used for something else other than going to the bathroom. And the fuzz in the bottom side of my balls went bling. It's the same feeling I had when I seen that Xforce 16 pill. And to this day, when I work on an Xforce, I always think about the first time I seen one of them, and my brain went to, damn, I could build one of these. But why didn't they make it this way? It'd be so much better. And those thoughts, those childish thoughts, have led us on the path to where we are today. Yep. The root of my penis started to feel fuzz. Sitting over here working. My phone's going crazy. I'm finally like, what? What the frig is going on, right? And the first thing I notice is the notification from YouTube. My homeboy is back. I'm excited. This makes me happy. Once you hear the voice, you'll know what I'm excited about.
Big ass 6,000 watt amp. There's another amp inside of the car. Big ass Zeus. 2,000 watt Zeus. But there go all the amplifiers. That's the DD1000. That's the APL. I call that Papa Shag. God rest his soul, because he had bought it from me, and when he passed away, his wife gave it back to me because he left word that if anything happened to him, to give me that APL back, because that was the first APL I built. On the bottom is the DD8000, which is the 64 PL, which I ain't ran since I built my other 32 PL, which is in the house. That's a DD2000, that's the red-eyed wolf, that's a 16 PL there. And the one behind it is a 32 PL, that's Bigfoot. Okay, got an inverter in here, because a lot of times I put my laptop here, plug it up here and play music for my sister and them over at their house. I got my whole fighting system in here, everything is in here. Here's the one that holds the 3 antennas, this is the rail that goes in the trailer hitch. These are the antennas. This is the other part of the system here, and this is another part of the system here. You know, my backup camera, and I can also be recording. I just put this in the other day. This big cabinet here, I got it from Roller Coaster. I had some Pops 10s in here, and then he gave me this cabinet, and I put some Pops 12s. So I had another little small amplifier, so I bought a bigger one. This one is what is a Lanzar Vector VCT 2610, 6,000 watt 2-channel MOSFET amplifier. I installed this yesterday, and as you can see, if you can see that it's got them Pops 12s in there now, so this thing really sound good now. I like my music sound crystal clear, and you know, I can open the doors up and play. I got tweeters in there, you know, so when I'm playing the music out the back, I go be over my sister's house on the holidays, and I just open up my truck and let the truck do the DJing, you know, because I used to be a DJ. But there it is, I see each amplifier. I know they look like a bunch of spaghetti back there, but I took them all out and put them back in here because I was changing the battery. I just didn't straighten the wires up. I'll straighten that up later. But everything is hooked up. Well, I got the 32 PL hooked up, the 8 PL, and the 5 PL. The other box is not hooked up, but as you can see, each one of them got their own line section and their own slug. The only one I have to change the line that read the meter is the 32 PL and 16 PL. I use that for the same one because they use the same thing. I got to switch up there to switch it from the 5,000 to the 10,000. The 10,000 is in the 64 PL. And I got a 5,000 in the 16 PL and a 5,000 in the 32 PL. I got a 2,500 watt slug in there. And in my truck, I only use bird slugs. I do not use coaxial dynamic slugs in the truck. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with them. I got a couple of them in the house. But I'm just, when it comes to my...
Man, he's particular, isn't he? Now, I had to play a little bit of that because now watch, I'll probably get a content strike over that because YouTube's going to say that this portion of the video belongs to him. He's my friend. Me and Tech 9. Me and Tech 9 are like this. He's my buddy. Just ain't spoke to him in a couple weeks. That's why I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What's going on? Wait a minute, what's up? Maybe this will finally get him to crawl out of his hermit shell. Proud of him coming back, man. This is cool. I'm just over here soldering like my dingus is on fire or something. Laying lead. I'm gonna have to wash this again. There's so much flux in this. Whatever Arlen was using when he put this together has got a ton of flux in it. Which isn't bad. It doesn't hurt anything. It just looks nasty. It's not electrically poor. It looks bad. So do the same thing I did over here. We'll get all these caps lined up. Hold on a second. Had me an idea.
Hello?
What are you doing?
Oh, we were just laying down watching TV.
Man, I'm over here working and my phone starts going ape shit crazy. And I'm like, God dang, what's going on? I mean, it's late at night, you know, I'm out here working. I'm working on a 2x12 at the moment. And one of the things that showed up on my phone is I got a notification from YouTube saying that Tech9 Technologies has put a new YouTube video out. And I went, well, isn't that a son of a bitch? Did he finally come out of his hole, come out of hibernation? And so I'm sitting there watching this video as I'm working, and I thought, well, damn it. I'm going to play some of it so I can give my buddy Tech9 a little bit of props on YouTube. And I thought, well, piss on that. I'm going to call the mud duck and see what he's doing. What are you doing?
Just laying down, chilling, man. She was hot up here. Actually, I turned my air off because it was cold down here. So, you know, one of my good friends talked me into that, man. He was like, man, you got to put at least one video up, man. Put the truck up, do something, man. Please put it. He said, put one up, man. If anything, just put the truck up. So,
you know, my favorite video you ever did?
Huh?
My favorite video you ever did is started out with you playing on your drum set down in the shop.
Yeah.
And then you proceeded to take a blank sheet of metal, a blank sheet of copper board, a blank hunky heat sink, and turned it into the most beautiful 32 pill I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
dude,
man.
something, come back, dude. Nobody cares about the build videos. No one.
Yeah, well, like I say, you know, like I said in the video, like I said, I'll probably upload one, you know, with my beams on the truck and with my fighting system, you know, go over to the test ground and do that, but that's about it. I ain't uploading nothing with me fixing nothing, building nothing, none of that mess. It's basically going to be just about that truck.
Well, good, because the knowledge you got in your head about the mobiles. I mean, I gave away a lot of the secrets in my videos, but I didn't give them all away, as you know.
Yeah.
I gave them the basics. Ground your shit. Why do you want to ground your shit? Because you're going to get out way better, and it makes it so I don't have to fix your shit all the time.
Yeah.
Oh. Man, you don't know how many questions I fielded from them videos about coax length and tuning, and oh my God. I am not the frickin' antenna whisperer. I'm not the antenna whisperer.
It's all good stuff, though, man. People learn a lot from looking at that. Just like the way you, you know, the way you do the solder that RG316. You know how you solder that and break that thing off, and I started doing that too. Hey, it works and it's nice and neat.
It's neat and clean, right?
You gotta pull the braid back and all that shit.
I learned that from my buddy Gary.
But it worked. I use it now because it makes it nice and neat. You ain't got no frayed braid, and you can fit it down in little crevices, and hey, man, it works.
Yeah, my buddy Gary taught me how to do that. He was a rocket engineer, and he figured out how to do that with that coax when they were trying to figure out how to get a million volts from one end of the rocket to the other, and wherever they didn't have a perfectly cleaved joint, it would arc. But the coax he was using was like, 2 inches across or whatever.
Right.
Right. Something to do with like the Atlas 2 or something.
The one you put out today, man, that was a heck of a deal you had to go through with that guy, man. Shoot, I was like, wow.
100-foot long extension cord. I'm not shitting you. Yeah, and so then when that amp showed up over there,
when I looked at that plug, I said, damn. I said, he don't even have a Hubble connector, man. I don't, like on my power supplies, I don't use nothing but Hubble connectors.
Right.
Yep.
And so when it showed up over there at Sticks, when that amp showed up over at Sticks, and he went back through it, I didn't have the chance to rebut that, nor did I really care, because I was like, man, it didn't matter if they went down to a 6-pill, the kid still ain't going to have enough power in his plastic shed in his mommy and daddy's backyard to run the thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something, man. I was looking at that thing, I was like, wow. You had to go through all of that, man. But then, some people you have to deal with like that. Like I said,
dude, there are some you don't put up with that shit. I kind of put up with people a little differently, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they know me.
Old codgety bastard. But we love you.
You had to run it if you run it any different and you blow it up. Don't come telling me, oh man, you didn't build this right. Nope, I built it right. You just didn't know how to operate it, so you still got to pay.
Well, it's never anybody's fault. It's always the builder's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, hey.
Yeah.
I tell them in a minute. I tell you how to run it. If you don't run it the way I tell you how to run it, and you run it any other way, and you blow it up, it's on you. Just like that sign said right there, sugar, sugar, salt is salt. If you blow when you leave, it ain't my fault. I still got to stick it on my wall.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, I just want to let you know you've been.
What do you think of that badass trucker man?
Well, I'm only halfway through the video, as you'll see, because I played. That's another thing. Is your channel monetized?
No.
Okay. Because I played like a I don't know 4 or 5 minutes of your video, and I'm sitting here thinking, man, I hope I don't create a controversy between the two of you with the monetization issue.
No. My videos ain't monetized.
I'ma put it where he can get it at 20 grand. Look, so the signs get my needs to leave. So I bruise this ego and stripe this speedos. Mr. USA, he left a blueprint. We keep the flame alive like this. Lord Jesus on the bowl, may they rest in peace.
I love this meter. Okay, so one's off by a puff. That one's off by another, so it's 2 puff off from the first one, from the middle one. This is the best auto sense meter I personally feel, period. Okay, so high and low is now separated by 5 puff. 147. 149. None of these are bad, but I'm telling you, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Yeah, 149.2. Okay, so they're all within about 5% of each other, but like I was saying, it's a matter of if. It's not a matter of when these go bad. So we built some metals. They don't ever go bad. the box will melt down and burn into a pile of burn up snot in the corner of this guy's truck before they go bad. Well, I talked with Mr. Big Dog Double DED, the guy that owns this thing, and he goes, I want them all. Meaning he wants everything that I can do to this thing. So we're going to run it with this current combiner ring in here because, well, we've changed the transistors. This was a Toshiba base box, and now we're basically an HG 16D08 box. So it means we're going to have to pry up, remove this wire or something so that we can move this tuning tube a little bit. I'm going to have to adjust the input capacitance on this section. I have to adjust the capacitance here, and we'll see how this turns out. But we're not done yet. We got all the power wires in, transistors in, power wires are in, all the solder work's cleaned up, all that kind of stuff's done. Upgraded the output tuning capacitors so they're metal. Now we got to come around here to the back. This has never made any sense to me. Let me explain to you the logic here. We're going to take all of the surface area of these fans, pushing air in, and we're going to eliminate all of the possible air surface coming down. We're going to cut it by over half by putting these slots, these grills in here. This has never made any sense to me. I get the fact that we're trying to keep large particulate out of that hole. But that's not the stuff that kills you. This is the stuff that kills you. I'm going to strip this wire above my amplifier, and as all the little wires fall off, they're going to fall through the grill in the top anyhow and fall into the fan, and then fall into the amp and then blow the amp up. I understand this is a styling thing to keep up with the slots on the lid, but really all this is a huge air restriction. So you've got all this volume of air trying to go in, and then we're going to cut it down to less than ½ an inch, where if we take and we just simply pop these out and then file this back so it's nice and smooth, and then open this up into a nice clean pocket, all of a sudden we've got 2 1-inch slots versus, so I mean we're talking 1-inch slot, and after we take all these bars away, 1-inch slot, that big of a slot, and then hard ablated edges, hard abrupt edges. So we're trying to make the air wrap itself around. Now, we're going to pop these out. I'm going to file these out real quick, and we're going to make this open in the back so we can get more air through this thing. Okay, so we've removed the slots and filed them back so they're nice and square and they're smooth. There's no sharp edges to get anybody's fingers cut. Nice and clean. Maximize the amount of air that can come out of them. Now, I've been sitting here thinking about this for a while. If a guy wanted to and he didn't want to go through all the hassle of cutting these out and filing them back, you could reach in here with a small pair of needle nose and rotate them so that they're sideways. This is a lot of restriction. We rotate this on its side, it minimizes the amount of restriction. Restriction, minimize restriction. Of course, the best option is to remove them, but for the guy that doesn't want to go through that hassle, we could just literally go wink, 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 dink, dink, and wink, dink, and you're done. It's that simple. But if I'm going to have to do it over here, they're coming out, and this is getting filed out. It's just the way I like to play. All right, let's go do the lid. Let's see here. It's moving about 11 miles an hour worth of air. It's about 11 miles an hour worth of air. 10.7 miles an hour worth of air. 10.8 miles an hour worth of air. I could give you the CFM rating, but there's no back pressure. There's a whole bunch of other equations that go along with it. These are moving a lot more air than these little thin, turn at 1 RPM, never cool, ever cool fans that light up blue. This is going to help a bunch. So we can put the cabinet on the amp now. We'll do an air measure movement, how much air it's moving through the cabinet. We'll measure that here in just a minute. This is all done. And it'll be quieter once we get the cabinet on it with a little bit of back pressure. Of course, the blades will cavitate a little bit more, but... And once again, we still have the restriction of the slots underneath the fan, right? Which, now that I think about it, I could probably tweak those slots, and so let me show you what I'm talking about. So we went ahead and we redid the wiring underneath, of course, and these are the good Sun-On fans. And I could probably take and bend all of these and maybe increase the airflow, but cutting them back slots out of the back of the deck is more than adequate, I feel. So let's go run the amp and see how it turns out. Well, that was weird. Never experienced that before. I key it up, and over here on the spectrum, the whole spectrum lit up like a Christmas tree. It was like, and I was like, what? So what the hell's going on? And then I look up here at the radio, and look at the radio. Look at the radio. Listen to the radio. All that noise. Watch this. We're looking at this coax connector. Drops to nothing. So what's going on is the screw that's on the bottom of this coax connector, there's no ground. The screw and the nut that holds the bottom of this coax connector back to the ground eyelet, it goes back to the board, is gone. I didn't catch that till right now. And there's no ground, this coax connector. So if I push this over and make contact over here on the spectrum analyzer, everything chills out. When I first keyed this thing, this computer up here freaked out and reset. It just spurious garbage everywhere, and it makes sense. From this point forward, down the coax, out, and then out to the dummy load, there's no ground. It was just, there had no reference. So we were coupled to an unknown load of potential here. So everything's got to be grounded. The coax connector coming in, the coax connector going out, it's got to be grounded. Otherwise, there's no reference. I've never seen that before. That was wild. Okay, let me sneak a screw and something with a star washer on here. And it just goes to show you that the case ground, because it's so much farther away, that and this is like erudite behind it. Oh, look at this. I just now caught this too. That should be blue. It turned that green. Wow, that was wild. That was a lot of RF interference. Okay, let's fix this so it works properly. Problem solved. This one was really loose too. So I went ahead and I tightened that nut up and the top nut. That nut's all solved. Let's see here. Let's run just a 2-pill by itself. We're in a 5X position. 1, 2, 1, 2. Look at that. Oh man, god damn it. Every single time I've tried to shoot a segment today, the phone has rang. So let's look at this. Hello, 1, 2. It's in 5X. So the 1-pill driver section is doing really good. Let's go up here. Hello. Input tune's really, really good on the 2-pill section. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the 12-pill section. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. It's not teabag, not the greatest, not teabag. Hello, and we're hitting this with like 15 watts. because the bench is still down on 12 volts. 12 volts. So let's start playing with it. And this is the dumbest thing. We're going to put the fans on a switch. And no, there is no sideband. It's just a relay delay. There's no labels for nothing, so we're going to change this. I'll go ahead and I'll clean this up for you, Big D. Believe me, we're going to make it all better. Okay. So let's set that to 1x. Turn this off, turn that off. This thing seems to be running perfect, actually. So, hello, audio. Putting 20 watts of drive into this thing. So, let's bring on the 2-pill. Hello, audio, 1, 2. 1, 2, hello. That's the 2950 hitting it. So now, let's bring the 955 into play. Just going to make the 2-pill section do a little bit more. Hello, audio. Not much. Not much at all. Hello, audio. So just a hair over 500 watts with the 955 hitting it. Let's shut the 2-pill off. Hello, audio. It's 80 watts of drive. 955, 80 watts of drive, like 520 watts. Let's, come on camera, pan out. Come on camera, pan out, there we go. Let's go back to the 2950. So, hello, 20 watts of drive. Hello, audio. Yeah, still around 500, so it doesn't help it a whole awful lot. Okay. So we're getting our 500 watts out of this. We're at 15.1 volts. Hello, audio. Dropping down to just at 15. So let's take this down to 5x, because that's where we're going to work from this point forward. Hello, audio. Relatively the same. Let's check out the 12-pill now. We're just looking directly at the 12-pill section. Hello, audio. Making a kilowatt, falling to 14.8 volts. Let's bring the 2-pill section in line. Hello, 28, some change. 29 and some change. Hello. But over here we're falling down to 14.3. Let's see, can we see the amp meter from here? Can. Hello. 312 amps worth of current draw going in. Okay. So now brought our voltage up a little bit. See a little bit more. 3,300. Give or take. Okay, so now let's switch over to the striker hitting it. Please note, there's no fans on nothing. We're running this open cabinet. 35. Turn dead key down on the striker quite a bit. Hello. Hello. Same amount. 33, 32. Now, it's not too wise to leave ourselves up here at this higher voltage. So let's back this down. We'll back it down to about 15 and some change. According to power supplies, 15.5. So, hello, audio, right at 3,000 watts. back to the 2950. Now let's go look at our pass-through and input tunes and stuff. Okay. It's a 5-watt slug in reverse between the 2950 and the amplifier. So we'll start out on the basement of things. This is just the radio talking through the box into the dummy load. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay. Now we're gonna bring a 2-pill section on. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Not bad. Now we're gonna bring on the 12-pill section. Drop the 2-pill section. Hello, audio. Not too bad. Now the 2 driving 12. Hello, 1 2. That's it. We did have to adjust the output tuning tube quite a bit, slide it in quite a bit, and it came way up in power. And let's take a picture of this. Okay, so I just took a picture of the output tune network, the combiner ring. This thing is just running as cool could get. The driver pills are 119 degrees. Final pills are 116. And the input splitter is ice cold. So, that is that. Let's hook the fan up. I'm going to secure this up so this can't move around because it can move, as you guys can see. I love the solid bar thing. That's great as long as you know where every box is going to tune. And you can do that kind of thing when you've got the same components with the same tolerance as a manufacturer and the same quality of the components. You can do this kind of mass production like that. We don't get to enjoy that with the Chinese transistors. They're all over the freaking place. So when we go and we change an amp like this from the 2-pill, oh yeah, I had to change this cap, this cap, this cap, this cap, this cap, and this cap. They weren't happy because of the new transistors. But as you can clearly see, we got everything working just the way it should. So it is what it is. These are Chinese knockoff Toshibas. They're fake as frig, but they are what they are. Spectrum shot real quick before I decide to put the lid on it. Remember, once again, we're running open case. Radio, 2-pill, mic squealing. Just the amp, all by itself. So it's 2 driving 12, which is the radio hitting it. I'm happy. Very peaceful with where this is at, and I know it's going to go out there and work for Big Double D beautifully from this point forward. So let's had a gentleman out there in the radio world give this to me as a thank you gift. He 3D printed Darth Vader for me flipping off the world, and I thought it was awesome. It's going to live up on top of the 2950 watt meter from now on. So let's get the cabinet on this thing and let's run it with the fans, make sure the fans are happy, everything's happy, and then we're going to move on. Well, hell. We're at the end of this song and dance. The only thing I had to do is I had to add a relay, and it sits up here in the front for the fans. There's too much current going on coming out of the switch. The switch was getting hot, and in turn it was also making the resistors on the fan get hot. So I had to drop the resistance down on the fans, number one, and number two, I put it on its own isolated switch. So when you flip the fan switch up, now it activates a relay, which in turn latches up the fans, which pull 8 to 9 amps. I'm telling you, we are moving some air through this thing right now here today. So, nice bit is. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Doesn't interfere with the fans. Audio 1, 2. Interfere with the fans. So, and of course, now that we're all done and it's all cleaned up, I give it a little shot of clear. Well, this has taken a couple days to get done, and now I got to go jump onto yet another project after this. So, go eat me some dinner, and I'm moving on to the next one. Gentlemen, I appreciate you tuning in to watch. I really do. I say it in every video, and I mean it honestly. It means the world to me that you guys tune in and follow along. I know sometimes it just seems like the same cookie cutter thing over and over and over again, but in this business there's repetition. Like I said, my primary function is to fix amplifiers. And to have that as my main function, I must do the job. So thank you guys for following along with the saga. Another Xforce out the door. Oh! I got one more thing I gotta do. One more little thing I gotta do before we all walk away here. Much better. All right, Mr. D. Have fun smashing ducks. We'll see ya. Bye.